My name is Frank DeLella, and I'm from New York One News in New York City. I host the theater show On Stage, and I absolutely love the movie, The Prom. I want to introduce you to this incredible company. First and foremost, we have producer, director Ryan Murphy.
Hey.
We have Meryl Streep, James Corden, Nicole Kidman, Kerry Washington, Keegan-Michael Key, Andrew Rannells, Ariana DeBose, Kevin Chamberlin, and introducing Jo Ellen Pellman. Hey guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for joining me for this incredible conversation. All right, Ryan, we're going to start with you. Ryan, I will never forget when you first saw the musical, you said to me, you know, this show really spoke to me.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Why is that?
I think the reason that it spoke to me is I wished when I was young, I had a film like this to see. I wish that when I was growing up, I did not feel so alone in my life. You know, when I first saw the musical, you know, I really deeply related to it because like Jo Ellen's character, Emma, I'm also from Indiana. And it was not, you know, this was back in when God was a boy, did I go to high school? But it was a very similar feeling where I was searching for a community. I was searching for a place to belong. And I just loved that the musical was actually about something. It was the fight to be, about the fight to be seen and to be included in the conversation. And I deeply related to that. And I thought it would be a wonderful film to make for Netflix, you know, because 200 million people all over the world can see this film, can see this message, including countries where it's against the law to be gay, where you can actually be killed for being gay. So I just overall loved the message of joy and tolerance that it was about.
Absolutely. Meryl, you played the role of Dee Dee Allen. You know, you're no stranger to doing big musicals on screen. What made you want to play Dee Dee? Why say yes?
Oh, I mean, well, it was such a stretch, you know, playing someone so vain and so overrated. Big fat narcissist. I don't know where I pulled it from. Love playing that kind of character because I am all of those things probably, but I am not a diva, and it's sort of, those are big shoes for me, and I loved playing someone who, you know, walks in and thinks she owns the room, which of course she doesn't. But I loved that kind of, you know, fun. And everybody takes the piss out of her all through the thing. So that was fun too.
Meryl, I feel there are hints of Broadway divas who I know with your interpretation of Dee Dee. Did you pull from any of our well-known Broadway leading ladies for your creation of the character?
Oh, yes. I mean, all of my friends. And not just the women, needless to say, because probably there's a big argument for the biggest divas are playing on the other team. So I don't know. I loved it. And this cast was magic. Every single person. We had so much fun shooting it, but the most fun was sitting around in those chairs, having some laughs in between shots. So it was great.
I love it. James, at your core, you are a musical theater baby. I mean, you got your professional stage debut with, I believe, Martin Garrett, age 17 in the West End, right?
Yeah.
You know, I understand you guys rehearsed this film like a Broadway show. Just talk about that. Talk about rehearsing this for the screen.
Yeah, I mean, it was astonishingly good fun, actually, because the great thing about Ryan is he knows exactly what he wants, but he gives you great license to go and find anything new that you might want to do or find, you know. And so there were real moments when we were in this sparse rehearsal room with, you know, chairs as doors and marked out stairs and things like that, that you started to look around thinking, it's like this is the most extraordinary cast for a touring production of the Prom. And you sort of, it really didn't, no, very rarely in those times were we ever really talking about where the camera might be. It was more about just finding who they are, what they are, and then rehearsing what those numbers would be. We were very rarely, Ryan was very rarely saying, well, here, I'll be here. And so it did feel quite a lot of the time like you were rehearsing it for a sort of proscenium arch production, you know, and that worked on two levels. It worked obviously because you're rehearsing all the numbers and the set pieces and all those things, but it also, I think, really grounded us as a company. It felt that day one on a set, I already felt like I was with an incredible group of friends just having a great time because we'd had those moments together. And you know, Meryl's right. Like the entire experience making the film was joyous, and it was joyous because of what we were making, and also just the people that I felt incredibly privileged to make it with. I felt overwhelmed sometimes that I had the opportunity to be in these people's orbits for just a moment. You know, it was a thrill from start to finish.
Jo Ellen, talk about getting the call to play the role of Emma with all these incredible artists, you know, as your scene mates.
I mean, I still can't believe it. So I had my final callback, our screen test, if you will, where I met for the first time Ryan and Ariana. I remember walking in to the waiting room and seeing her name on the sign-in sheet, and my jaw dropped because she is a Broadway icon, someone I feel like I've looked up to for like my whole career. And then to suddenly just make small talk and start to talk about like our lives. We talked about our star signs in preparation for doing this read together. That was such a joy to get to meet her and to meet Ryan and our casting director, Alexa Fogel, and work in that room. And then it was truly the next day I got the call. I was at a thrift shop in Bushwick, Brooklyn, with my sibling. And I got the call while I was like just browsing racks of coats, and here I am.
You were incredible in the film, I must say. Nicole, we got to see you do some Fosse, and it was total zazz. Talk about discovering your inner Fosse with taking on this project of the Prom.
I mean, I was just so lucky because I had these, Ryan organized for me to be surrounded by the dancers, these Broadway dancers who that's what they do, is they do Fosse dancing. And I started and I thought, I'm never going to be able to climb this mountain because everything is, you know, every little detail, every hand gesture, every finger that moves. But suddenly being educated in that and having this team of people cheerlead me and make me believe I could do it was just wonderful. And I have to give them incredible a shout out, and also just, you know, I would name them all now, but I'll do it in another interview at some point because they were the ones that made us. And I'm sure all of us here who worked with them all would say the same thing. I mean, I had Beth, this extraordinary Broadway dancer who just was there every second for me. And that's what I think, you know, being an actor, being a dancer, being part of a company that's the beautiful thing of it, is that you're all there helping each other and cheering each other on. And Ryan was able to create that for us prior to shooting the film. So it did feel like we were preparing for a Broadway show.
Kerry, first and foremost, I love the Broadway show, and I absolutely adored the film just as much, if not maybe even more. Kerry, what I love about the characters in the film is that we get to see a little bit more depth to them. They're more fleshed out. And I want to point out your character of Mrs. Green. She's a real person, and we really see that on the screen. Talk about crafting her with the film.
Well, I'm listening to everybody and I realized like this amazing thing happened because I wormed my way into the dance number at the end, like at some point when we were filming, because I like grew up in musical theater and loved to do musical theater. And one day when we were filming, I was like, Ryan, don't you think Mrs. Green should be in the finale? Like, don't you think that's right? And as I'm listening to it, I'm also realizing this wonderful dynamic happened where Mrs. Green was with everyone, but not of everyone, right? Because she hadn't been in this 4-week process. I was like playing catch up while we were filming to learn the dance. And I remember James looking at me and saying like, you don't want to do that. And I was like, I do, I think I do. But it was like that energy of as the big dance number was approaching, we were all practicing in hallways, just like you do in high school and college. Like it's coming, everybody, we have a turnaround. Let's all try to perfect the dance. So I'm just so grateful to have been able to worm my way into some of that magic. But yeah, I was so inspired when Ryan called me first of all, I love Ryan and have wanted to work with him forever. So getting that phone call was amazing. And the first thing he said was, all your scenes are with Meryl. And I was like, done. But he said, I really want this character. I don't want her to be a stereotypical bad guy. Like it's so easy for us to judge and to say like, you're a bad mom, but I want her to be a little bit aspirational. I want her to be understandable. I want us to feel like we know her and love her, but she's just got this real problem with her homophobia. And so I really loved finding that, like bringing some additional 3-dimensionality to her was really fun.
Keegan, I feel like we get more of your character in the film as well. Your tribute to the theater song was one of my favorite moments in the film. But I have to ask, what was it like getting to fall in love with Meryl on screen?
Well, I had already done it. So, I had already done about 27 years of research. So, Ryan called. I'm like, no, I'm in. What it reminds me of is I think the first day I was in the rehearsal space and Meryl and I were going through the scenes before as you're ramping into a song. But Ryan, we were running scenes, just dialogue scenes. And one of the most thrilling things is just to be able to work out a scene with your fellow actor and watch how much that person is embracing just the process of figuring out how characters are interacting with each other. And I will hold that precious to my heart for the rest of my life and the rest of my career. And Meryl is so wonderful at making you feel comfortable. Hey, we're here. Let's kind of bow down to the work. And it was just this triumvirate of people, just me and Ryan and Meryl, and the musical director was over there, and just piecing it together. How do we best tell this story? How do we most effectively share this with people? And it felt sacred in a way. And it was really such a lovely thing. And the entire...
Yeah, that's great. That's a great thing to say, because it's almost the favorite thing about what we do is the first days of rehearsal. The first days you're in a bare room, they have tape on the floor to tell you where the furniture is. You're in your heart and you're in the other person's eyes, and you try anything. That's really
you're right. It's the best part. That was the best part. And so there's this, of course, this moment where you're going, okay, so I'm doing this. I'm doing this with the greatest actor of an entire generation. But at the end of but what makes that happen is that you're doing. Sorry, somebody else was going to say it. But those precious moments when the imagination, when Ryan is, because Ryan's a very good shepherd. He's not controlling. He gives you the whole. He gives you the whole Glen. You get to praise on the entire Glen, and it was just a beautiful time. And the fact that I never know what to say. I just, I'm a sports guy. So the thing is, I'm so sorry, Meryl. I'm a sports guy, so I have to compare you to Tom Brady. So if you get to catch a Tom Brady,
my footballs are deflated, or
Genius. Andrew, again, I have so many favorite moments in this film, and I have to say your mom number, where we get to see you dance in a fountain. I mean, we know you. I know you as a song and dance guy from Broadway, for so many years. But like, getting this show-stopping number in a Ryan Murphy film, talk to me about filming that moment.
Well, when Ryan told me about the project and asked, if I would, join them, and he told me about the cast, but the big selling feature, and I'm sure you remember this, Ryan, at the end of the conversation, he said, also, you will get to sing a song with Meryl Streep at a monster truck rally.
Sold.
It's like, yeah, that seems right. And then there we were in Bakersfield at a real monster truck rally, and it was just happening around us. And I looked at Ryan, who was like, I told you.
And Andrew, how about dancing in a fountain too? I mean,
dancing in a fountain. Those were. I was trying to keep up with those kids, and Casey
the ensemble's amazing. The ensemble is absolutely amazing.
Casey Nicolau, who choreographed the film, who I had worked with on the Book of Mormon, he knew like some of my, because I'm not a real like dancer, but he knew like a few of my tricks. So he was like, well, we'll do this and we'll do this. And I was like, Casey, the Book of Mormon was almost 10 years ago. And then there was a couple moments where I had to sit down after takes because I was like, I can't keep up with these kids. I mean, that ensemble that we had were just incredible, and just so much energy and so much joy that they brought to all of those numbers. But and just like doing backflips off of a fountain and it was unbelievable. I was watching them do things and I was like, how does a body even move like that? They were really inspiring, and I tried my best to keep up with them, but it was tough. It was real tough.
Ariana, you've gone on record saying you felt a responsibility telling the story of Alyssa Green. Why is that? What was your responsibility with telling the story the right way?
It's not often that we get to see stories about young, beautiful brown girls who identify as queer. I actually can't remember the last time I saw it done on a big screen. And therefore, I wanted to make sure that I did it right and that I brought everything that I could to it. I describe myself as a dancer first, so I believe in the details. And I think when I think about young girls, especially living in today's era, like they have so many different pressures aside from trying to define themselves as by their, gender expression and the clothes that they're going to wear. There's so many other pressures, like getting good grades in school, trying to get into college, aside from just realizing, oh, the people I'm surrounded by, I'm attracted to them. There are so many different things that young people are trying to figure out today. And I wanted to make sure that I infused all of those pressures into the performance, because again, I think if you can see yourself on a screen and see that your story matters and see that your story can have a happy ending, that, you have a greater chance to go out in the world and find that same type of success. So I do feel a great responsibility to this, and I hope I did a good job. So.
Yeah.
Incredible.
You did.
Kevin, you're also, a Broadway vet. We know you from the big stage here in New York. Fondest moment of working on the Prom?
Well, I loved talking about the theater with Meryl, and I think and with James and Andrew and I go way back in the Broadway world. And but Meryl told me the story, and she pulled up her sleeve and went, "Do you see that there? That's where Raul Julia stabbed me with a pencil when we were doing Taming of the Shrew." And you still had the mark there, right? That's the best theater story. It's a theater urban legend now.
I love it.
And Kate working with Casey, Casey Nicolau, our choreographer. Casey was my understudy in Seussical on Broadway, and it's thrilling to watch how his career has exploded, and just to have all these theater people together was incredible.
Ryan, I'll never forget walking onto your set for the first time in downtown LA, and my jaw was to the ground. I mean, the attention to detail that you have done and your team has created with the Prom is second to none. You know, just talk about recreating Broadway in New York, in California.
Well, that was a bit of a heart stopper because, you know, you get this amazing cast, right? And then you get the film green lit. So you're like, okay, well, this is good. So now we're just going to go get the permits to film on Broadway and shut down 8 blocks for 3 nights or whatever it was. And we were promptly denied. And I, you know, to be honest, I was really freaked out because I didn't know what to do or how we were going to do it. But Netflix was incredibly generous and they gave us permission to build Broadway. So what we did is with Jamie, our wonderful production designer, we found a 4-acre abandoned lot in downtown LA. And we went to Broadway and we measured the curbs and the lengths from the curb to the street and how many bulbs are on the marquee. And, you know, I've sat in that upper room in Sardi's and had the experience that James and Meryl did, you know, when Boys in the Band opened. That's where I went on opening night and waited for the reviews. So so we just built it, and we spent 6 months building Broadway. You know, we did a little bit of special effects at the end there, but it was an amazing thing. And for me, it was one of the favorite things that we did for the actors, to, you know, because you have to run across the street, and we had a couple of musical scenes there. To be able to make it feel authentic, Keegan also had to walk across, you know, for his number. And I was really proud of how that came together. But I think in terms of the production design, Jamie and Lou's costumes and Maddie Libatique's cinematography, you know, everyone who was involved in it, it was a passion project for them. And I think you can tell. It meant something to them. And everybody involved in the making of it are such Broadway fans. And it's so rare to be able to get to do a big budget Broadway musical, you know? So we spent the time, and Netflix was so generous with everything about it. So it was really a once in a lifetime experience for me.
Ryan, this was your first big feature musical film, and I hope it's the first of many because, again, I'm the biggest fan of the film. I think you guys all did an exceptional job. What was the biggest challenge with putting together a piece like this for the screen?
You know, I think anytime you do an adaptation, it's tricky because, you know, you want to be true to the essence of the piece, but you want to also make it your own. And, you know, we spoke about Kerry's role, and there was nothing that was difficult about it, to be honest. You know, it was joyful. It was one of the easiest things that I've ever done with this cast. Are you kidding me? I mean, it was like I was in heaven every day. And the one thing that I will say is, you know, I grew up in a system where if you had gay characters, let alone 2 of them, let alone that was sort of the thrust of the story, you would be given, you know, 5 cents and a couple peanuts and be told, here, you know, good luck. But to have an experience where you were so supported by a company and treated like, you know, basically a Marvel picture, you know, I never heard no. Anything that we wanted, we got, was really moving to me. And it felt like a very full circle moment for me because I started off in 1998 writing for television. And the first thing I did, I was told I could not even have a single gay character. So just, I had a couple of moments making this of how much the world has changed. I think probably the most difficult logistic thing was building Broadway, but it was, you know, it was so fun.
Meryl and James, you have a beautiful scene. I guess it's about midway through the film, and it you know, it starts out and I'm laughing with you guys, and then I start tearing up. You know, I feel like we're getting more of these 2 characters, Barry and Dee Dee, with the film adaptation, and we're also getting, you know, additional characters. We're getting Emma's grandmother, and we're getting Barry's mom, who is played by the incomparable Tracy Ullman. Meryl and James, talk about that scene in particular, because I think that's obviously an addition compared to what was in the musical, and it's also a major scene for the film. What was it like being in that moment? And just talk about the importance of that scene for the prom of the film.
I felt like I was just following a beam of light on that one, because James was carrying his pain through the whole film, and he was working it out with such energetic joy, but it was always there, always there. And in this scene, I just I felt like I just had to listen to him, and he killed me. He just killed me. There's 3 places in this thing where I just completely lose it, and that's one where he talks about what happened to him as a young boy, and not being accepted by his parents, being rejected by his parents. There's the scene where Kerry walks in to the prom. That kills me. And there's the scene where Jo Ellen really realizes that she's been fooled and she's all alone. I mean, there's scenes in this thing. This is a romp and it's really fun, but this will kill you, this movie.
Mm-hmm. How about you, James?
I get a little emotional when I think about those scenes, if I'm honest, because I think they're really important scenes that move the character, the story forward, rather. Not, I mean, they do move the character forward, but you spend quite a long time just personally doing things, feeling like you might be able to have a bit more to give. You feel like you might be able to, you feel like you might have a bit more depth, and you want someone like Ryan to come along and drop a script in your lap, and then you find it, and then you just go, oh God, what if I'm not able to do any of these things? And then you get to spend 3 days we spent shooting that film. And Ryan, I will be indebted to forever, really, for his guidance, the way that he led me through it, the way he led me through it as a director, the way he led me through it as a friend, the way he led me through it as a gay man. And I'll treasure those days, because we broke the scene up into 3 kind of sections, really. And I find it very moving when I think about how I felt on those days when it was just Meryl and I. Lots of people forget that this is the 2nd movie musical I've had to carry Meryl Streep through. So that's a weight in itself, I'm kidding. I love those scenes. I'm very proud of them, but I think what Ryan did in adding those moments that Meryl talked about, they just bring so much weight to the story. They honor the characters that are in it. They honor the stories that are being told. They honor that acceptance is everything, really. And I hope so much. My whole time I was thinking about it, I was thinking of friends of mine, young friends of mine whose families don't know that they're out, friends of mine who have disparate relationships with their families because of their sexuality. And you really hope that many people would realize that however hard it is to address or confront those things, that acceptance is everything. It's everything to accept and know that it's never too late to forgive those things that at one point you felt were unforgivable.
Yeah.
It's interesting because until I heard Meryl pull out those 3 moments, I didn't realize that in a way they're sharing that story, right? Like the scene with you doesn't work without the Jo Ellen moment. The end of the film with Ariana and I only works because of the scene with James and Meryl. Like, I give Ariana the closure that James is looking for in many ways. It's just really beautiful how that need is shared across multiple characters. And on the day, I just have to say this, on the day that we were shooting the big prom, that there were all of these beautiful queer young people who came to our inclusive prom. who were witnessing that scene between the Greens, and it was so moving because they were receiving the acceptance. So many of them were weeping and saying, like, I wish my mother had said that to me. Or it was just so powerful for us to be in that shared space of finding belonging as an entire production. We all felt the weight of it. We all felt the need to express that unconditional love and acceptance of each other. It was so powerful.
And I will say that I think that's so important to say, Kerry, because the thing that's so magical about that moment, you know, when you and Ariana have that moment, I don't think it was scripted that people broke into applause. And it happened organically on the first take. And I was like, oh, I'm going to use that. Okay. And, you know, also for those kids, that was their prom. There were 100 of them. And they did not get to go to a prom. And they walked in, and I didn't let them really see the room, I think, until the first take. So it was sort of built for them. And they got to be with these amazing performers and hang out with us for 2 days. It was really so moving. It was so moving.
You know, this is the medicine that we need right now, the prom. That's immediately what I thought after seeing the film. I just want to go down the line with all of you. And if you had to pick a word to describe your experience of doing Ryan Murphy's The Prom, what word would that be? And a couple sentences, why? Nicole, we'll start with you.
Joy, because I think that it was the thing that Meryl and I both said when he called us and asked us to do it. We went, oh, we get to go and have fun and experience joy making a film. And Ryan created that on the set. He created that on the screen. And it's rare. And also, I think it's fantastic that it gets to be seen on Netflix because, as Ryan said, so many people can just click on and watch this. And hopefully the message of unconditional love and joy will be felt through the screen.
Meryl, how about you?
Well, okay, one word, because of course she heard. Elation. Okay, a little higher.
Good one.
No, I just want to give a shout out to the Broadway cast, to Beth Love, who showed me how to do it, and because that was the initial inspiration for me that said, oh boy, these people, A, they're having a ball, but B, they're giving us something. They're giving us something we need. But I hope that when people turn off the show, that they'll say, well, let's just go back and watch it again, because that's the thing you can't do with a play.
Keegan, how about you?
Oh my God, you got us again here with the one word. I guess my word is healing. It's a healing piece because to me, in a way, the film is almost an instruction manual of how to heal. Those scenes that Meryl was mentioning earlier, that Kerry just spoke about, it's almost like there's a little bit of an equation there that if you have support and a little bit of courage, you can heal. And that's what comes to my mind, is that there is buoyancy and joy and light in the piece, but it was extremely cathartic for me, but it showed a pathway to healing. And I think that's what strikes me the most about it.
Jo Ellen?
I think the word for me would be optimism. And I have Ryan to thank for that, because I remember when we were filming Just Breathe, you gave me the note to find the optimism and the joy in the face of all of the prejudice and bigotry that she was facing. And Emma remains optimistic and determined in the face of all of the inequality. And I hope that the message of the prom, and I hope that kids can take away from this is that, you know, anyone who feels different, that your chosen family is out there and you are not alone. So don't stop looking, because there are people out there who can't wait to love you and support you. And that's the optimism that Emma finds. And I hope that audiences across the world can keep that optimism.
Absolutely. James.
Well, like Meryl, it was going to be joy, and then it was going to be healing, and it was going to be healing, and then it was going to be. So I'll say this: I think the word is Ryan, because I think, make no mistake, that he is the absolute beating heart of all of it. He grounds it at the same time that he elevates it, and he's done it with such a deft touch, and he made it such a joyful experience. All the things that we're talking about, the joy of it, the healing of it, all of those things are because at the very center of him, he went to see a show that represented a world that he knew and saw. And he thought, well, I would like to build a prom for everyone. And I would like to put it somewhere where hundreds of millions of people can see it. And there's some people think about, well, I want to do this because I'd like to make lots of money, or I'd like to win lots of awards. Now, I know what you're thinking. Ryan's got both of those things. But essentially, at the core of it is a story where he said, I would like the kid when I was younger to be able to see this story, to know that they're not on their own, to know that what they're going through is not particular to them. And so that's my word.
My word now is cry. My word is cry.
I'll take that, Ryan. Ariana.
Oh, man. It's like what everyone has said. It's all the words. It's joyful. It's magical. Maybe that's my word, magical. But it's maybe not. Maybe more like transformative. This film was transformative to me because it showed me the possibility of the world that we live in, and that there's still change is possible, and people can change. People can see the light. People can. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Yeah, that people have the capacity for change and acceptance and tolerance. But acceptance and tolerance are two different things. But there is room at the prom for everyone. Yeah.
Andrew.
Well, in thinking about the process of making it, I would say laughter. I doubt I will ever work on anything where we laughed so much on set. I mean, my word was going to be filth in reference to James Corden. Disgusting. Poor Jo Ellen witnessed some of the most horrific between the right word, but she was very supportive. So I would say laughter, because we laughed our asses off every day. And it was so much fun to get to do. So much fun.
Kerry?
It gets harder and harder the further down the list you are. I think I agree with all of the words so far. And maybe I keep thinking jubilant. Jubilant, filled with happiness, but also like a triumphant spirit. Like we did it. Like we did this thing. We told this really important story that needed to be told. And I don't know, like that. It feels so good to have this out in the world.
Amazing, Kevin.
Well, I this movie is definitely an antidote to the times. It's going to be a balm for everyone, and something we all need right now.
But I just want to ask Ryan one last thing. What do you want people to walk away with, Ryan, after they see your film? Obviously, your work is super layered, and you're always pushing the envelope with your work, and we're grateful for that. But what do you want people to walk away with after they see your film, The Prom?
You know, it's funny hearing everybody talk about what their word is, because I have been having to think about that. What is my word for months, because I've been involved in the marketing of the movie. And so my word and my answer to your question is the same thing. The marketing campaign for the film and what I really wanted it to be about is, I can sum it up in one word, and that is celebrate. And we use it in many different ways on many different posters, but you know, to me, it is about a celebration of self. It's about a celebration of identity. It's about a celebration then of everything: love, dance, sequence. It's just about a celebration of everything in the world that should and can be uplifting. And that's a film that I wanted to make. And I think that's the film that we did make.
Bravo to you all. Again, love the film. It was a bomb. It was everything you said.
Love you in it. You're the first shot, mister.
Yeah.
I feel like we should be asking Frank about his experience of working on the Prom. I feel like,
How was it, Frank?
yeah.
Ryan, you know how it was. I mean, it was an out-of-body experience, getting to share the screen with Meryl and having James run down and, you know, mouth things to me when he was running down the red carpet and making me laugh was just incredible. So I'm so grateful, and kudos to you all, and bravo. And this is exactly what we need, what the world needs now. It's the Prom. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
It's great.
Thank you, guys.